Thank you, Gail, so much for letting me know that you can hear me. Oh, two confirmations. I got one on YouTube as well. So thank you so much. I'm so sorry about that, guys. I'm going to start completely over. Let's pretend that never happened. Isn't that what you do on a live event? So welcome to the show. I'm Sue Ann with Right Mix for Business. You're watching The Marketing Mirror. Today I wanted to come to you on live video because I wanted you to not be able to hear me and I would be mute and talk to nobody. No, I wanted to come to you on live video to thank so many of you for interacting with the show, for showing up on these live audio events for a show that could be interactive. And I really appreciate so many people for participating, for leaving comments, for giving me feedback on the shows before the show, during the show, and after the show. Your feedback and your participation, your voice, being part of the Marketing Mirror has meant everything to me. And I am so appreciative of all of you. So if you're watching the show live, I thank you. If you're watching the replays, if you're helping me with show ideas, giving me feedback, and also if you're giving me your insights for the show, for the Marketing Mirror, since I've been doing this experiment with doing live audio on LinkedIn. Now, today I'm also live on YouTube. So if you prefer YouTube to LinkedIn, you can watch me on either channel. And I really appreciate you being here. I'm Sue Ann with Right Mix for Business, and you're watching The Marketing Mirror. And today I don't have a special guest, but I've had quite a few over the past weeks. And I'm so excited about that because these voices have lent everything to the show. So I want to today kind of take a look at a few of the things that we've recently learned on the show. I want to kind of go back and review a couple key things that have been coming out in the really fantastic, intriguing live interactions. And I wanted to make sure that some of the things that kind of flew out or came up were remembered. And I wanted to kind of review some of those things with you. So today I'm going to give you a little bit of a look at what we've been doing on the Marketing Mirror. Um, I'm going to get it. I'm so flustered from that little glitch with the audio that I'm going to just get a little quick sip of water. And while I do that, how about if I give you a quick invitation to something going on here at the Marketing Mirror? So hang on one sec while I sip my water. Hey guys, it's Sue Ann. I'm so happy to invite you to my new membership community called Inside the Marketing Mirror. Let's go a little deeper into digital. Let's learn and grow together. Let's, for the price of a cup of coffee a month, jump into this private studio for exclusive content, deeper dive learning, and surprise events. So come on in, my friends and colleagues, through my new Buy Me a Coffee membership. And whether you make the events or not live as a member, all the content will be available exclusively to you in the studio library. I can't wait to see you. Okay, there. Now I feel a lot better. I took a little sip of water and I'm ready to go. Less flustered and ready. So thank you again for being here. I'm Sue Ann. This is the Marketing Mirror, and we're looking back at some of what has been revealed to us over the last weeks, because we have been talking about social media reimagined, because we found out in these last 5 weeks or so of discussions that the road has taken us near and far. It's taken us in unexpected places, leading to interesting chats and interactions with you, because I've been doing this, like I say, live as an audio event for that interactivity and to get your varying points of view on topics. So the show has been kind of all over the place. So today I thought it would be great to say thank you in person, live and in person. And also, I don't know about you, but with these discussions with other people, I am definitely learning a lot. So I want to thank you for dropping in live and watching or listening to the replays and to the latest episodes of the Marketing Mirror. And today I want to also let you know that I will circle back to comments and catch up with you in the comments. In some cases, your comments will lead to things coming up in upcoming shows. But I'm at the controls today, and we see how well that's not working out. And so give me a little bit of grace with catching up with you if we need to. But over the last 6 weeks, we've been weighing in on the state of social media marketing, and we find that it's currently a really chaotic environment. It's not what we've been used to in social media marketing. We've discovered that it's definitely time to change things up. So last week well, here's today. I'm saying it's time to actually literally blow it up, because social media of the past decade, it's time to just send it to smithereens, right? It's not the same. It needs to be different than it's been. We need to reimagine. We need to add creativity. We need to rethink and research to upgrade and up level our social media marketing. And interestingly, last week I had Lisa Sicard on, and we talked about the question of whether Twitter is dead, because we've been hearing that Twitter is dead a lot. And so I wanted to do a quick review of some of the really fascinating discoveries that we found that indicate that Twitter is not dead. In fact, the day after we did this topic of Twitter is dead, the following week, the following day, oddly, an article came out saying that in fact, Twitter/X has enjoyed a 25% increase in users year over year in August. It also mentions that Facebook, in contrast, is steadily losing users. So I wanted to give you a few reminders of some of what we learned from Lisa. But before that, I want to say this. Why use social media? Do we have to use social media? Of course not. So that's the first thing I want to say to you. I want to remind you that no one has to do social media. No one has to use any particular platform or medium. And you should absolutely 100% follow your heart and your business strategy to suit your specific needs, because each one of us will approach things uniquely. But everyone agrees over these past several weeks that we've been chatting away that social media marketing strategies definitely need an update. We need to carefully consider, we need to reconsider, we need to research and reimagine how to successfully use social media. So one of the recurring themes over the last weeks has been the goal of social media engagement and creating relationships through social media. And so that's one of the things that was really high on the list of things that Lisa talked about, and all the other participants last week when we were talking about, is Twitter still relevant? So my friends Lisa Sicard, Gail Gardner, who was assisting me earlier with my sound problems from GrowMap, Eileen Smith from theanchorshow.com, let's see, Jamie Shine, who's been a guest and who participates, Jim Fuse, Michelle Troutman. So many of you are my friends from Twitter. Laurie Andis came in last week. So Twitter is a place where I have gained friends. Kathy Miller, Sharon Hurley Hall. I met a lot of these guys on Twitter. And so what we've determined that we don't want to lose the joy of Twitter, even though other people don't like it, and we want to keep that social engagement. We learned quite a few lessons about Twitter, and here I've listed some for you. So it's about the enjoyment, the friendship, the engagement, the relationships, the conversations. We find that many people use Twitter for news. We talked about the president announcing that he won't be running for re-election by announcing it on Twitter. We talked about how mass media cites Twitter. We talked about people, in rescue situations or current problem situations where they're enjoying Twitter as a way to be in touch with people and mark themselves as safe. We talked about how much we love the live interactions from the Twitter feed. From Twitter 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 tweet chats, I think. I'm not sure what X is calling them, so we're going to call it tweet chats. So tweet chats, and also spaces where you have that live audio interactivity. And that's one thing I'm wondering about with LinkedIn. How do you feel about moving the LinkedIn audio event to Twitter Spaces each week? Because I have to tell you, I've really been struggling trying to get the audio recordings from LinkedIn. I wanted to be more in the B2B space with LinkedIn, but I realized that for ease of use, X is going to do it. Now, interestingly, I had scheduled to be live on X today, but I wasn't able to go live on X because I don't have a premium account. So I guess I'm going to be getting a premium account because I hate being left out of X with my video stream today. So that was an interesting revelation. Last time I went live on X, which wasn't that long ago, it was with Stephanie Garcia. It worked on X, no problem, even though I wasn't a premium user then. So look, we're learning as we go, and that's another thing. Lisa mentioned loving to meet new people, finding industry experts, and engaging with colleagues. We learn, we share opinions, we share discoveries. I noticed that there are a ton of guys in tech and who are AI specialists who are really lapping up Twitter because they're showing their discoveries to each other and interacting on Twitter. So if you're following AI and the tech space, you will find that Twitter is highly engaging. I'm also following some YouTube folks on Twitter because I'm trying to learn about YouTube and optimizing that channel. So there's a lot going on X that maybe you do or don't know, but I wanted to just review some of what we learned last week because I thought it was really important and things that people don't know. For example, what is engagement farming? Have you heard of this term before? I hadn't heard of this term, and Lisa introduced us last week to engagement farming. And what does that mean? Well, make a note. Lisa was penalized on Facebook for the infraction of engagement farming. She further did some research and found that Twitter too has a penalty, whether that's an account suspension like on Facebook, I'm not sure, but you need to be aware that you can be penalized for what? Engagement farming? What? I never heard of it. So I found that interesting. The other reason I find that so interesting is that aren't these, excuse me, oh my goodness, let me get another. Aren't these platforms requesting that you stay on their platform? Aren't these platforms requesting that you use text more and less sharing of URLs? Aren't they trying to keep people on their platform? I keep calling platforms platters. I've been doing that for weeks. Don't know why. But aren't they asking you to stay on the platform? Aren't they trying to keep people in their platforms exclusively? So they're asking you to stimulate engagement, to create interactivity, to have conversations. So I find this engagement farming infraction really interesting, and I wasn't sure. Let me know if you're familiar with engagement farming, if you have any experience or problems from engagement farming. Please let me know. This one was a new one on me. And like I said, again, these platforms counterintuitive to what they tell you you have to do or that they want you to do. So what we've also been talking about over the last weeks is how you have a lot of control over what you do. They may want you to do one thing, but you may have other intentions. So keep your business in mind, keep your audience in mind. That audience first and user first intention is going to be so much more important every time. So I think that that's so funny that the recurring themes is the goal of creating engagement and building relationships on social media, interactivity, inviting conversations, leading to new business. We want social ROI or return on investment. But this term, this engagement farming, seems really counterintuitive, because if you're starting conversations, if you're trying to create engagement, but you're not allowed to cultivate it, farm it, I don't know what to tell you. So you tell me. You tell me. So this brings me back to some other useful tips from some of the previous live shows that I thought I would remind you of. And I thought I would give you, again, a little visual help with my little slide share today. So here is another one. Oh, and I do have a comment from, Jamie. Let's see what she has to say. It seems like there are new rules by the day. Yes. And some of these platforms can't get out of their own way. Oh my gosh, Jamie, I so agree with you. We talked about that too. And Jamie will be coming back again soon to talk about LinkedIn and whether you should have a profile or a business page on LinkedIn. But listen, this is part of the problem. The rules are changing so quickly. The platforms don't stay in their lane. Like, I look at LinkedIn as a business platform. LinkedIn right now is standing in their own way because I can't easily capture the recordings. Today, I know I'm going to get the recording on StreamYard. I know I can get every recording on Spaces, because when I even speak on the Spaces, my Zealous automatically picks it up. So that's standing in their own way too, right? And let's see what Gail has to say. People are complaining about penalties on Facebook, on and off and off and on. And you know what? I've seen a lot of people getting penalized on Facebook, and they're showing the reason they're getting penalized. And I can't make heads or tails of it, neither can they. And as I think, was it you, Gail, you or Lisa, somebody mentioned that AI may be a factor in how things are being seen by these checkers. Okay, so it's not a human checker, and so sometimes they're not making any sense. From a user perspective, this is super frustrating. This might be one of the reasons why that Facebook is declining, as was mentioned in that article. I will put a link for that in below. But another thing that we learned was about Twitter ads. So Lisa told us that Twitter ads right now are very cost effective, more affordable compared to Facebook or LinkedIn right now. And she discussed how X was really terrific about offering you help to get you started with Twitter ads if you want to try experimenting in the Twitter advertising space. She also talked, or X, she also talked about her advertising strategy was to drive traffic to her site, which organically, Twitter is one of her highest traffic drivers. She already mentioned, she also mentioned, but she's also using it to promote affiliate links. And she's running her campaigns right now, typically for 4 to 7 days, but experimenting on a monthly basis. So this is something that I think a lot of people didn't know how reasonable it was, and how it's measured in clicks or in conversions. And her conversions are literally sales for affiliate projects, and she's having really good results. I have some more information from Lisa that I'll try to get into the article associated with this show when I get there. Gail, yes, AI doesn't understand often the usage, and it isn't what we typically mean when we're making our shares. Again, from a user perspective, this is super frustrating to get thrown off of these platforms in that way. So that's something to be aware of. Ha ha ha. So one of the things that Lisa talked about, and Also, it was pointed out that you can use BuzzSumo to find your industry leaders if you're having trouble finding them. But we talked about how we promote mutual connections, how we share connections with each other. And it's so interesting. For example, when I met Sharon Hurley Hall, who is coming onto the show in 2 weeks, I think, to talk about, or no, next week, the 25th. She's coming the next week on the 25th. When I talked to her about when I first met her, it was on Twitter, and because she is such a prolific writer and had so much experience in writing and journalism, I had a question, and I thought maybe I needed some help, and I had met a few different writers on Twitter, and Kathy Miller was one of them. I said to Kathy, "Hey, Kathy, can you help me with whatever?" And when she got back to me, she's like, "I don't usually do that, but sure, I could give you help." And I said, "No, no need to help me. Sharon Hurley Hall I already caught up with her." And she was like, "Sharon Hurley Hall, she's my sister from another mother. We are great friends." So it was so interesting how immediately those circles were formed with mutual connections, with mutual interest. And that's why when we share back and forth our contacts, whether they're new connections or whether they're people that we know, then we grow into knowing our friends' friends, and the group of the discussion just gets bigger. It grows. So I love the fact that we introduce followers back and forth to each other. I think that's an important component in, finding your people, finding your community. Also, we talked about engagement tactics like polls and quizzes. Again, we have to be careful about talking about industry topics and trends. Jamie pointed out that you can't just jump on any trend if it doesn't jive with your channel, with your business, with your overall social. If it's way out in the blue, that doesn't often work. Now, you do want to share parts of you besides just your industry. You want people to get to know you. It's okay if they know that you're a dog lover, a cat lover, a mountain climber, those kind of things. Also, we talked about the importance of asking questions and getting feedback from people and how that helps us to learn and grow and make closer relationships. And we talked about using visual posts without text to make an impact. And that applies not just on Twitter, but on other platforms as well. So, these are all kinds of other things. I just put these up here to show you guys some of what came out of that discussion. I thought it was so revealing. Miss Eileen introduced how important the Twitter studio is. Her studio, the benefits and the power of that. She also talked about live streaming directly on Twitter and the challenges to multi-streaming, like I might be having a little today. Also, she offered tools on streaming. So she's one of the reasons that I'm doing a live stream today, because she's urging me to try to step out and, do the conversation live on camera. And so that's a little bit more difficult. Let's see. Is this, oh, we already saw that. Okay. Okay, we're caught up to date. If you have further questions, if you have something else to input or add, please continue to do so. One thing that we didn't talk about last week that I did want to bring up about Twitter is the FEDICA app, or FEDICA, I'm not sure how you say it, but FEDICA, FEDICA.com, FEDICA.com gives me a weekly email. And I really like it because it just automatically sends me this email where I can review and tweak my followers each week easily for Twitter. So it shows me new followers in case I miss somebody that I should catch up with and connect. It shows me unfollowers. So if there's any buttheads who dumped me, I may want to dump them right back, or I may want to ask them why they dumped me and try to stay in touch, rekindle, something that I wanted to be a relationship. So it shows you that. And most importantly, I think it shows you last seen or inactive accounts, because inactive accounts on any of your social platforms are not going to be conversations. They're not going to be clients. They're not going to be conversions. They're not going to be even any kind of connection if they're inactive. So I love that FEDICA shows me inactive accounts each week, and I can go in and tweak, and I'm going to pull out anyone who hasn't been on the platter since 2018. Having followers isn't where it's at. Having engaged followers and relationships and interaction, that's where it's at. So if you have bots, if you have people who haven't been on the platform since 2018, 19, 20, I don't care, dump them and get real followers, get real interaction, make real relationships and connections. Also, I love that you can get some features like audience mapping or lists showing the countries who are most engaged with your content. So if you're a big seller in the US, you know, you want to know that your feeds are giving you US following. And I have, of course, for my feed, my biggest following is the US, but it shows me other countries of interest. And I have friends, I've made friends all over the world thanks to Twitter. And incidentally, my friend Cheyenne introduced me to a guy in Philadelphia through social media. So it's so interesting how big and how small the world is, and how everyone's voice can be heard on social media, and how we can learn about different people and customs and ideas through social. I love that aspect of it. So you can get country, you can get county, you can even hone in on what cities are watching or listening to your Twitter feed. And you can get widgets to show these maps on your website and what have you. By the way, I'm going to give you a link. It's in the description on LinkedIn right now, but grab my social media marketing guide. It's a beautiful framework. It's something I personally use. You can look at it year to year and update your social media. It'll help you think straight on identifying who you are and what you want to do so that your social is meaningful and intentional, which is something we've talked about a bunch of times in these past discussions with a lot of my colleagues. So I think that's so important. So why do you want to be on social? Why do you care? Just again, to give you a review of what we've been going through. People are on social media. Right now, there are 5 billion social media users. So if you want to connect with people, if you want to find your audience, that may be a reason to consider social media and social media marketing. People are connected at the hip to their phones. Excuse me, speaking of phones. Okay, so social media in a digital world, that's where we can meet people where they are. They're connected at the hip, at the hand, at the watch, in their eyeglasses with Ray-Bans. They're connected to social. It's getting more mixed in with everything that we do as a people, as a society, as a digital world. So go ahead and meet people where they are. Go ahead and hijack the power of e-commerce. That's something that's totally a beautiful thing. And right now, some of the platforms are more geared towards e-commerce, some are not, but we want to keep an eye on that, because finding people and letting them know about our products and services is why most of us are doing social media marketing. Of course, we're doing a lot of top of the funnel, building that brand awareness and interest and reputation. And we want to grow our reputation and trust in us. And we want to increase sales. So all those things, of course, are part of why you might want to do it. We talked about keeping some framework things in mind. And I think these are so helpful. And these are still going to be accurate, even though we're revamping, reimagining, recreating social. We're still going to want to remember that we are to create as social. We are to curate and share other people's great stuff, and communicating is the key. And we have a new visitor. It's Miss Eileen, or Eileen Smith, who I just love dearly. She is one of the people who said, keep joy in what you create. Haha, she switched to YouTube from LinkedIn. See that? There's the LinkedIn and there's the YouTube. And Miss Eileen, I don't know if you caught it, but I couldn't get on X for my show today like I wanted to, because this time it said I had to be on X Premium, so I guess I'm going to have to upgrade. But interestingly, last time I did a live on X, which is just recently with Stephanie Garcia, I was able to stream it live. But keep these things in mind, kind of top of the off top of the head, on top of the head, or in the back of your head stuff. You want to keep some of these. Now, here's the thing. It's not just about creating and curating and creating conversations if those conversations don't turn into conversions. So we're looking for goals and results to come of our social media marketing efforts. So keep that in mind. You have to be intentional. You have to be result oriented. We don't want to just throw it out there. Posting is not social media marketing, right? Oh, and Miss Eileen knew that I couldn't get on Twitter Live. Okay. I guess it was real recent because I just did one not long ago. Boo-hoo for me. But that's okay because I'm going to do it. I'm going to have to up to premium and do it. Another thing that we talked about just from a far-reaching level is that you might want to think about a content calendar. You don't have to get too wrapped up in it. You don't have to be like spazzed about a content calendar, but you want to think about it because you want to make your job easier on social media. So we talked about what we called fun buckets with top of the funnel, and we talked about putting your content into fun buckets so that you could do things like yearly things that you want to do, like holidays, or maybe you have favorite special days like library, honor your library day, or honor your janitor day. Because let's face it, without those integral parts, those guys that keep the place clean, the rest of everything, the organization falls apart. So every job is important. But the point I'm making is that you want to celebrate what you want, that you can just splatter into your calendar, and that can be one of your content buckets. Holidays and specialty days, things that repeat year after year, and you can set that up and it's a one and done. It's ready to be used. You can also look at content buckets from a topical perspective. What are your core or key categories? Social media marketing, content marketing, and business marketing, or web writing, copywriting, and email marketing, writing for email marketing. So whatever your content buckets are, if you use these buckets, I think it'll help you save yourself from getting penalized for gardening, cultivating, farming engagement, the penalty that we talked about earlier. I think having these buckets makes sure that your content is a mixed batch. It makes it more exciting for people to view and check out. And it shows you how much each of your buckets can expand. So you can have content buckets. You can have buckets for seasons. You can have quarterly buckets. You can have topic, or core content buckets, as I said. Some other things that you want to keep in the back of your mind is core topics or categories that you want to cover. So if you know what those things are, you make sure that you get that distributed in a fair way so that equal time for those important things. And you want to have evergreen or pillar content. Your pillar content is going to be what really voices your brand, what people know to recognize as your brand when they see that pillar content that really shows your values and who you are as a business. And you're going to want to keep in mind that with everything you do on social, you should be thinking about intention and meaning, and that's going to help you upgrade and up level your plan. Now, one thing that we didn't talk about that I think we should consider is the same things that I talked about before when you're thinking about your website and user intent. why aren't these same things applicable to social media? I think maybe they are. People are looking for information. People are navigating around a topic or an area and come upon you. People are looking for a buy or a purchase. They're there for a transaction. They want your course or your offer. They want to work with you. And there's people, especially in the B2B space, you'll find investigating and commercial use of search. So you want to keep those things top level on your mind too with social media, because those are leading back to your website or your main properties. So even though we talked a lot about top of funnel content, and we talked about how important it was to attract and make people aware and gain people's attention, cause interest and bring that traffic. We talked about social being a lot of top of funnel content. We should really be thinking in the back of our minds beyond top of funnel, because when we drive them back to the website, we want to start introducing, or to that next piece of content, landing, whatever it is, we want to start thinking about building their trust in us, showing and showcasing our authority and our relevance in a topic. So if you're not connecting the dots from your top of funnel social to that middle and finally that bottom of the funnel, where they're really considering using you for your service, for your knowledge, for your product, they're sold on your product. If you're not connecting the dots from social to each of those spaces, then you're missing the whole idea of that intention and that meaningfulness that you should be gaining with your social media work. So what platform for my peeps? You want to think about the platforms where people most are, and that's where you want to send people, or where you want to, be seen. I practiced this, I really did, but today I'm feeling a little off. So your platforms, again, have different levels of intent by those coming to the platform. So if people are just coming to certain platforms, I think Jim mentioned, was it TikTok, or maybe it was even when he was talking about Insta, he's going for like quick fixes to be entertained. He said, for example, he wouldn't be putting his podcast on Instagram because people don't go for long form content to Instagram. That, everybody was like, yay, I can live stream to Instagram. But he's like, I don't go to Instagram for live streaming. I go to YouTube. I go to some of my favorite social channels with groups that live stream in there. I'm not looking necessarily for a podcast on Insta. So you have to consider, when you're considering what kind of content you put out there and what platform you go to, why are people there? If they're not there to buy and you're there to sell, you might have a mismatch. So some of those things were topics that we talked about and went over. I put this together, and I didn't talk about this or show this in the prior episodes, but I think this is really relevant too when you're thinking, again, of that bigger framework, so that you can really hone in on what you're going to do for your specific strategy. But what you should think about is that not only is your content about following the customer journey, but it's also about that sales funnel, bringing them to you to actually interact with you in terms of turning that conversation into conversion. So I have kind of combined both the sales funnel and the customer journey, because look, they work hand in hand. And so if you think about, creating those stepping stones that are going to take you through that system, you're going to be in good shape, I think. So think about that when you're trying to really narrow down and crash on what your content will be. Now, this is a little bit old. It's, I think, 2022. But what I wanted to point out here is that social media from an organic perspective is not dead, because this shows that 49% of consumers are finding their product through ads, right? But 40%, only 9% less, are finding it through organic social. So organic social is real. User-generated content is organic social for businesses, brands, and companies. That's people talking about you for you. And that is word of mouth marketing. And that is really a huge part of social. Not those paid influencers, but just that community, those brand fans that you gain and garner. Those are going to be huge to you growing your community and building your business. So it's interesting that, people are so quick to say organic social is dead and social media marketing sucks and all of the things. I want you to think differently. I want you to think, how can I be a superstar in that space? How can I stand out and make my social shine? Because I definitely want to worry about shining on social. It's really, I think, important. I've talked about it before, and I'm going to just throw out at you a few things. So you want your social to get out there and be seen. You want your business, your brand to be out there and be seen. And social makes that brand shine. It makes you noticeable. It makes people catch you, see you. It also is a way to shine the spotlight on sharing your content assets. And I think that one of the things that you have to do to be really good at social is to offer an agile mindset. You have to be willing to understand that it is changing all the time and it is varying, and you are going to be adaptable and not get like a lot of us. I'm saying us because I'm including me, where we're not stuck on doing the same old without updating and getting agile and getting experimental and getting creative and doing something to be different, because we're starting to look like we're sleepwalking, as Mark Schaefer said and was mentioned in one of the earlier ones. So socially grown content will travel far and wide, and I think that's uber important. So that's something we definitely want to look at. So I hope that so far you're enjoying the show. I want to thank you again for checking it out. And let's just move right along. I'm just about done with what I had to show you. Make the most of your social media marketing to make it resonate out in the world. And so when you're looking at each social media platform, you want to think about getting acquainted with each channel. You want to determine a posting frequency plan, because remember those resources we were talking about? Some social channels take a whole heck of a lot of time, and the feed needs fed like constantly. So you're going to want to think about which channels, need the most attention and the most feeding. How can I make the most of my social, keeping in mind that review and that allocation of resources? How and should I create a content strategy? And the answer is yes. And we want it to be meaningful. We want it to be intentional. And we're going to get more into actual strategies coming up on the show. Also, we want to figure out a process that will be a comfortable workflow for us and a comfortable posting schedule. Because if you talk about it and don't do it, you're not going to see the results. So you have to get yourself into a process and workflow. And of course, we need to remember to analyze social media and look about those key performance indicators. And I can show you, in fact, I will show you, I've been working on a video to show you how to set up social so that it has a direct line to a key performance indicator. How can you ask the question that you'll get to hear and set up your social to make that connection? So I have that coming up for you. Top of the funnel with Jamie was really, really exciting as a segment. We talked about so many new ways to spark awareness and so many creative things that can be done. So pay attention to that. We talked about using CTAs, or call to actions, in different ways, calls to action in different ways. Like we see a trend for people saying, if you want this lead magnet, DM me. And that makes that conversation become personal to deliver that lead magnet, rather than sending a person to a website or a landing page. We talked about social sharing techniques for all kinds of reasons. So we talked about like the fun buckets and the topical buckets, the pillar content and evergreen, but we also talked about different ways to share those so that they get seen. We also talked about having a strategic impact by taking care of using core strategies, I'm sorry, guys, by being sure to incorporate your core categories and your pillar content into your map for social. And we talked about the importance of user-generated content and how it could really elevate your brand, and through really efforts not even of your own, but really can be effective for you. And we also talk about some other interesting things, including how to craft platform specific work and how important that is, especially now. You can't just do like, I'm doing social and it works everywhere. Now we have to be more aware of and more intentional with content specific posting and content specific social. So I think that's impactful. Also, we talked about credible commenting and how that could increase your reach and gain you new business just by intentional, intelligent, credible commenting. And that was an interesting discussion a few weeks ago. And then I had Jim Fuse and Peter Lysowski, who talked about how to get relatable, how to engage with people in a new and a unique way. Peter's the founder of the Relatable App, and what they do is they suggest that you hit those people one-on-one right off the bat using the Relatable App, which is an app that is kind of a video app, but really the idea is to bring people in where they create their own experience depending on what it is they're looking for or what it is you're offering and how you can match the two. So they want to have that one-on-one experience right off the bat, and they want it to even be an experiential adventure where that person who's interacting with you has a choice in their own destiny, in their own journey with your brand. So it's very interesting, and that was another cool thing that we talked about. And again, don't forget about analytics, because if you're not collecting, measuring, analyzing, and then reviewing it so that you evolve and do things, upgrade, do things in a different way, then you have to look at it again. And if you keep doing this process, you'll continue to rise in the quality of what you share and all your content. So I think that's super important. I think if we go out there and market with love, bringing out the new you in new ways, finding how to reimagine, how to interact on social, how to create real conversations, real connections, real relationships, and that human to human contact, I think then you'll do really well with your upgraded and new social media marketing platform and plan. So we want to get strategic, we want to be different, we want to stand out, and we want to ask, how the heck do we go about doing that? So we've been reviewing a lot of stuff over the last several weeks. I ask you to please let me know if you have any further questions. Next week, we're going to go off the social media track in a way, but not completely, because your newsletter, of course, will still be tied to social. In fact, that's how a lot of people grow their newsletter. And Sharon Hurley Hall is going to explain jumpstarting your newsletter if you're just getting started, or jumpstart it to upgrade it if you're already in it, and how do you monetize your newsletter, because we're always looking at streams to monetize things.
Step inside the marketing mirror to uncover marketing secrets, discover gems, tactics, lessons, and campaigns you can use. Next gen or fundamentals. grab the marketing magic to improve your marketing and win more business.